The zombie event of the year is here. The director who literally has split the internet in half with his controversial take on superheroes, Zack Snyder, has finally released his follow-up to Dawn of the Dead, which in my opinion is one of Snyder's best films. Army of the Dead doesn't really reference his Dawn of the Dead remake, at least as far as I can tell from the first viewing, but he does pack his latest zombie epic to the brim with all sorts of grit, grime, guts, gore, gumption, and grody-ness. Let's wade hip deep into the thick of Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights YouTube page and give it a like. Please share with all of your buddies. Click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Army of the Dead is new streaming only on Netflix. It's directed and written by Zack Snyder, co-written by Shay Hatton and Jody Harold. A shady investor named Bly Tanaka, played by Hiroyuki Sanada, recruits gruff military man Scott Ward, played by Dave Bautista, to bring together a team of specialists to break into a vault in the middle of Las Vegas and carry out a large sum of cash. The problem is that Vegas has been walled off from the rest of the world after a zombie outbreak contaminates everyone inside. With zombies to the left and right, and nuclear strike wiping out the entire city planned in a few hours, Scott and his crew have to get in and out within a very tight window. Action and carnage happens. Zack Snyder should really stop with the superhero films and stick with horror. He's good at it. He's better playing with his own toys rather than those of others. He can do whatever the hell he wants to with them and has total control over it. I understand he probably got a nice big paycheck at adapting comics, and he probably had some fun in ordering around superheroes he used to read about as a kid. But at the same time, I feel Army of the Dead is much more of Snyder in his element. Yes, all of Zack Snyder's tropes are there. The opening is filled with one slow-mo action scene after another, but it's also an opening that creatively introduces the audience to the main characters while providing an in-action way of letting the viewer know of the zombies' limitations, abilities, and threat level. Yes, there is an overabundance of hokey musical choices that overdo the point Snyder is trying to make thematically. Snyder even finds a way to work in Zombie from the Cranberries, and it only made me wince a little bit. Thankfully, there's no Leonard Cohen Hallelujah covers, so at least viewers don't have to endure that anymore. But while Snyder may have taken inspiration from George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead for his last zombie film, Army of the Dead seems to be all Snyder. These are his zombies. They're big, ballsy, brutal, and bananas. They evolve the longer they are undead, so there are alpha zombies commanding lesser shambling ones for Bautista and his crew to deal with. Snyder clearly sets up the threat, explains how to kill these zombies, what their different power levels are, all in sort of a video game basic blueprint manner, and then just lets the cast loose across the playing field. And while there might be those looking for deep meaning in their zombie yarns, a la Romero's social commentary that was plastered all the way through his zombie work, Snyder seems to simply want to tell an exciting story, and he succeeds in doing just that. Snyder has a way of making every scene count, giving it a distinct feel and look. Sure, there's an overuse of slow-mo and stuff that looks like it should be in a music video rather than a movie, but this is a Snyder movie. Those looking for something different from Snyder simply are trying to find something to hate. Snyder, love him or hate him, is what he is. He's part J.J. Abrams, part Michael Bay, but he has an aesthetic of his own that feels like he was born while watching music videos and kept watching them all the way through his formative years, and probably is still watching them now. I can understand that because, damn it, I'm kind of the same way. This isn't a thinking man's zombie movie, but it is a movie that unapologetically makes every frame as alpha male as its most dangerous zombies are. Some might label that as toxic masculinity, but Snyder isn't making this film for the snooty or the sensitive. This is an in-your-face action horror film, and I honestly hope Snyder has more films like this in him than any old dreary Justice League. Army of the Dead is not a perfect film. Twice, the momentum skids to a noticeable, jarring stop. Once when Bautista's Scott has a heart-to-heart with his daughter, Kate, played by Ella Purnell, in the middle, and another a short time later when Scott has another heart-to-heart with Maria, played by Nacho Libre's Ana de la Reguera. But the second one feels as if Snyder notices how hokey and sentimental this stuff is, and ends it on a gory punchline that had me on my feet. This isn't a commentary on the acting of Bautista. He actually shows that he has a Charles Bronson-esque leading man stoicness about him that I think should lead to bigger and better stuff for him in the future. I think these scenes don't work, and Snyder almost knows it, hence the punchline after the second heart-to-heart. It's almost as if Snyder is saying, "No time for love, Dr. Jones," charts out a quick sentimental scene, and then rushes right back into the action where Snyder and the viewers were having so much fun anyway. There's also a missed opportunity where, upon entering the Vegas quarantine zone, the Coyote, played by Nora Arnzeter, says that the piles of zombies are dried up, but whenever it rains or they get wet, they awaken. This line is dropped and never picked up later in the film, and I so wanted either it to start raining or have the zombie leader turn on the waterworks at some point to give the crew one more obstacle to tackle. Maybe that wasn't in the budget. Maybe they had to snip the scene because a 3-hour zombie epic would have been too much. Either way, it's a missed bit of coolness that never really appears. The finale of Army of the Dead is a mess filled with distractions from the main plot, coincidences. How does Kate know where her friend is being held, and how does Scott know where to find both of them? And contrivances that really don't make a lot of sense. Still, Snyder fills the whole thing with such spectacle that you can almost overlook it. The ending is equally nuts. No way that guy survived. Without spoilers, that's all I can say. But again, it leaves the film on a note that quite possibly Snyder may be back for more zombie action one day when it snags his attention. The cast is fun. Bautista, as I said earlier, makes for a very cool leading man. I'd love to see him take on a Predator. I mean, this man is made for that type of throwback action. While he takes the reins as leader in the beginning of this movie and gets some great action scenes in the end, he kind of lets the rest of the cast shine through in the middle portion. Standouts from the cast were the always reliable Garrett Dillahunt as the government stooge. Omari Hardwick is pretty great as the literary-obsessed soldier type, though I kept on thinking it was Michael Jai White in the role as the actors look very similar. Matthias Schweighofer is fun as Dieter, the safecracker, crucially important to the heist but completely ineffectual in battle, and Nora Arnzeger does a great job as the Coyote who takes no shit and is tough as nails. This is a big cast, but basically a lot of them serve as fodder to show the danger of the zombies while the big players get time to shine. Tig Notaro made news for replacing the canceled Chris D'Elia late in the filming. Tig is a funny stand-up comedian. As an actor, well, they sure are a funny stand-up comedian. Let's just say I wasn't bowled over by her performance, and thankfully it's a smaller role. Funny stand-up comedian, though. Yep. Snyder even sells the whole smart zombie idea here better than I think Romero himself did in the latter films of his Dead series. Sure, no one can compare to Bub from Day of the Dead, but Snyder's Alpha King and the rest of the Alpha Zombies managed to be formidable boss-level foes for Scott and his crew. The effects are equally impressive. The zombie tiger is much more believable than the tiger from The Walking Dead, and there is a mauling scene that is just plain brutal. Gore is usually played for laughs here, but there's a ton of it all the way through, along with the action, so those who are looking for a highly paced, blood spatter fest are looking in the right place. Having fallen off the Walking Dead wagon a few seasons ago, I really haven't missed the threat of a zombie menace. But Snyder's Army of the Dead kind of reinvigorated my love for this subgenre. I know big-budget horror is a difficult sell, but Snyder is a big name in Hollywood and is able to gather a high-caliber cast and a big budget and still maintain his gory sweet tooth and appreciation for carnage throughout. Name another director out there who would do that and could get that done. I can't think of any. Sure, a lot of Army of the Dead feels like a video game, but I had a blast with it. I don't know if Army of the Dead will spark a new zombie renaissance, but I sure hope Snyder returns to this universe long before he enters the DC universe ever again. What did you guys think of Army of the Dead? Are you guys sick of zombies? Did this reinvigorate you like it did me? Let me know in the comments down below. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both Grave Trancers and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, mlmillerwrites.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at mlmiller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. You're doomed. Live the life that you are meant to be. Live inside